So we move forward for the next presentation. So we're gonna have here Raphael Perret. I hope he's here. Okay, once again, hello. Raphael is a Zurich-based artist to develop a research-based art practice exploring the interplay between physical and virtual spaces. There's amazing work made between 2015 and 19, where he has researched the informal e-waste recycle in India. So it looks like Raphael is seeking to dig into the veil where we live, the apparent image of the world, and go deeper to have a more adequate perspective on certain and current situations such as waste or politics. So I imagine that the presentation today is something related somehow with this, entitled Truth Detectives, a very serious games. So yeah, there's the title. So the stage is yours. Thank you for being here, and you can start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you all hear me?
Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. So, hello, Tasha. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm going to present you Truth Detectives, a very serious game, which it's an endeavor I started together with Anja Reis, and actually now also John Klima, who is also in the room, is also part of it. And I first wanted to improvise from my desktop, but then I thought, okay, let's do a proper presentation. So here we are in proper presentation mode. I hope you don't mind. Let me get started with an introduction video that sort of explains the framework of the game, and then you will hear more of me soon.
Можно сказать, что мое увлечение компьютерными играми меня к этому подготовило. Как раз в расследованиях очень похоже получается, то, что ты нужно сложить вот эту вот картинку, вот этот вот пазл из всех этих вот кусочков, которые ты видишь, которые ты замечаешь.
Worldwide, activists are observing ongoing conflicts online. By scanning the internet, they find evidence of human rights violations and war crimes. This fact-finding process often contradicts the official version.
Говорим прямо и определенно. Российских войск на Украине нет.
Join the movement and get trained to find the truth. Learn cutting-edge investigative tools through multiple game levels. Discover clues buried in videos and photos from conflict zones. Compare images to find out location and timeline of events. Evaluate damage to buildings and deduce which weapons were used. Analyze satellite images to reconstruct war crimes. Verify testimony with NGO data sources.
Este fue el recorrido que nosotros hicimos con mi esposo cuando nos cogieron los paramilitares allá y nos mandaron por ese sector hacia la capilla.
Follow the traces. Discover the true story based on facts. Use your newly acquired skills for the ultimate challenge. Be a real truth detective. Support human rights organizations in their research.
All right, so much for the introduction. And now I'm gonna switch to my browser. So, okay, to sort of get started on the project, I have to dial back to 2014, 2015, because Anja Reis, she's a documentary filmmaker, and she was on the way to document what open source intelligence researchers, or short OSINT researchers, were doing at the time. And there were different conflicts on the way, and one of them was in the Ukraine.
Maidan SOS. Tanks have entered the region of Slavyansk,
where organizations such as Bellingcat, for example, they were investigating the movements of Russian troops who did not wear any badges. So they found a lot of images of Flickr on Flickr of just civilians, and they could reconstruct like which troops that were and where they were going and so on. At the same time, there was already forensic architecture, for example, doing their work. That's also shown in the video that you've just seen before. And so one of the questions after doing the video, or after doing this documentation, Anya sort of, she perceived that, okay, the crowd is actually too old for this television show. We should actually find a format that targets the younger generation. And therefore, the idea came up to make a game out of this topic of open source intelligence research. And as stated also in the short introduction video, one of the main protagonists, he sort of used to play strategy games and then went into this activist work and said, well, look, it's actually exactly the same thing. And I do co-work with other people I met online. You need exactly the same skills. It's just that you sort of, you work with reality, right? So there are these huge troughs of data available on YouTube, on any sort of channel of social media, where you find rather instantly video footage or images of people who were witnesses and who upload that material. And there are organizations such as Syrian Archive, and that said, there are many more archives. There's also the Yemeni archive, and archive of many conflicts are there, who are collecting all the sources that are available, preserving them, processing them, verifying them, and doing investigations with them. And that is actually quite a sporty endeavor, because in many cases that material disappears soon after through censorship or whatever reasons there are. And right, so here you have sort of the sources. They go through YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and other online media, or they receive selected material. And well, to make this sort of into a game, we choose a case from Syria from 2019. That's the bombing, the alleged bombing of a medical facility, a hospital in Dar al-Hikmah, or like Dar al-Hikmah Hospital in Kafr Nablus, sorry, in the Idlib region. And what they do is, in these investigations, they go through all the material and show what they actually found out. And because it's open source intelligence, they link it to all the material online that they could find, from different news reports to Twitter, to YouTube, and so on. And so what we were doing is baking this case and the material that is to some part still online available into a game in which the players in the end know a little bit about the methodologies that are used in open source intelligence. And then hopefully, that is sort of the goal, as mentioned in the intro video, that we make sort of the turn back into reality, that this is a training for the players to support initiatives by Syrian Archive or Amnesty International or what else it may be, right? So from game into reality, and from reality back into the game, and circle all along, right? So, yeah. Now back to my presentation. I want to show you a tiny bit more about these people, or like the OSINT community. They are very playful. Many of them are on Twitter, and they post these challenges, right? That was posted a while ago, but it shows Henk van Es photographing himself somewhere. And the challenge is, okay, where am I? And you see, you know, he's wearing these glasses. So in the reflection, you may see something in the background. You see that it is a test center, and so on and so on. So you have all these different clues and must find out where he was. Or this one is another one, a rather easy one, like, okay, what is the name of the road? And at what time of the day was it taken, right? So if you look at the picture, you see a tower in the background that looks very much like the tower standing in Berlin. So it must be one of the motorways going into Berlin. But then, of course, the hunt starts, okay, where exactly, on which road, and so on and so on, was that taken? So that's the kind of reality game this community is playing. And there are people who are, or figures, characters who are very sort of proficient in that, and actually do this as a sort of a life, right? So they have like methods that are in the sense of, okay, if you get a picture, look at the foreground, look at the context, and look at the backgrounds, maybe you see something that sticks out and you may find on a map. And in that case, of course, there are high-risers, there is a park, and we have a river, so that is very British and is actually taken from St. Paul's, right? So that was a very super easy one. And you know, the overall questions are like, okay, verification of, did this incident actually really take place, or is it a spoof? Is it you know, some machinima video of a conflict that never happened? Is the actual location correct, and is the time frame correct? And in the end, then, well, who was it really? Who was the attacker? And so we bake this into a story or a game where the protagonist receives over his channel, receives a video, which is this one here.
مدينة كفرنبيل 4 غارات جوية الآن تستهدف مدينة كفرنبيل الأحياء السكنية بالإضافة إلى راجمة 40 أيضا تستهدف مدينة كفرنبيل في الأحياء السكنية بدنا نمشي مدينة حرايق في الأحياء وما بنعرف حدا.
Oopsie. So what we saw was a citizen journalist, you know, reporting in this area some shelling, and what we see in the background is smoke, and next to it we see something like a tower, right? So which is already a good indication or a good landmark we can use. And just to prove you, this video is, oops, now I closed it, yeah, fantastic. So, oops, here we go. It's actually also on YouTube, still available. And then following our story, well, what you can do with this video then, you can find other videos which are taken with the same description at the same time, talking about the same incident, who would then be something like the video that we see below here in the second column from a press reporter. Let's go to, okay.
إذا غارات جوية مكثفة شنتها المقاتلات الحربية التابعة لميليشيا النظام و
So who's you know, taking sort of a look on the ground, and let me dial forward just a tiny bit so we get to the interesting part.
وجود إصابة في هذا المكان نلاحظ هذا الحريق في
So we get to see the damage that was caused, and we get to see the surrounding as well.
إذا نلاحظ استهداف هذا المكان استهداف مباشر للمشفى. أحد المشافي في مدينة كفرنبيل نلاحظ الاستهداف المباشر للمشفى.
Also some parts of the inside, and then also again surrounding outside.
الوضع مرعب جدا. الوضع مرعب في مدينة كفرنبيل. عشرات القذائف والصواريخ استهدفت فيها.
Okay, so here we have, for example, a very characteristic tower.
ميليشيا نظام المدينة منذ الصباح حتى اللحظة وضع كارثي حقيقة في المدينة نزح عنها أهلها. أعود وأكرر بأن هذا المكان المستهدف هو مشفى تم استهدافه من قبل هذه الميليشيات بالطيران الحربي وراجمات الصواريخ.
Which we can then use later on in the game, right? But that is spoiler, sorry. So next thing will be to map then, you know, or like find these specific features in the video. And here we see a radio tower in the background next to the Orient logo. And then try to map these locations or triangulate all these landmarks and discern where actually this the reporter was standing when he was taking this video. And so in a search that one can do, or anyone can do on Google, you will find several Dar al-Hikmah hospitals. But there is only one Kafr Nabil. So you will need to narrow your search into the location that you suspect the place to be, the place of the bombing. And then when we zoom in, you will find here on ordinary Google Maps, you would have here the water tower, and you would have here the hospital, the roof, and the radio tower is somewhere over here, right? So you can triangulate at least the place. And what would need to happen later is to say, okay, does the time frame actually really match the time frame of the alleged attack? And that was reported. And we can actually do that in game. Hold on, let me switch again. Because there is another video of the rescue crew arriving. So they were sort of one of the earliest ones being there in place. Okay, oops. I shouldn't press the button here. Okay, sorry. So if you go here, all I wanted to do was stop. What you see here is at the bottom is the shadow cast by the house or like the structure of the hospital. And with this shadow, we can reproduce a shadow calculator in the game that then verifies at which point in time this video was taken, right? Given that we have the day of the year when it happened, right? So that is sort of a very quick tour, and I want to give John another 5 minutes afterwards to show the game, as I've been here just presenting still images and a couple of videos. So that's why I would say, let's take this opportunity to have a discussion now. And so John then has 5 minutes for the game presentation, if that's all right with you.
Yes, perfect. Yes, it works could work like that. Thank you. So, I didn't. We move already to John, or no? Any questions? So first of all, anyone has any specific question about this amazing presentation I thought this is really interesting. First of all, because activism in games is a new trend, really important. There's games, I don't know if you know, Papers, Please, or This War of Mine, which are games that, well, when we play, we get another sense of life, and because games are very engaging tools where we are fully committed with the space, with the environment, and when we are focusing these so important and relevant thematics, sometimes we feel, I speak for myself, but sometimes we feel much more involved in the message than in a documentary or in a film. I don't know what you think about that, but I don't know if anyone has a specific question. Yeah, Adriana, please. I'm lost.
Hi, Rafael.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, I do have a question about. I would like to know how you feel about this word, the term gamification, which is very used nowadays, of course, but no, and it is often perceived, or at least this is how it sounds to me in terms of connotation, to turning something playful. For me, it seems like your game is. It's not that it's not playful, but it's a little bit like the other side of the coin. I don't know. I would like to hear you on that.
Well, yeah, generally I probably have a practice that looks at the other side of the coin. But back to your term, I know words are important, but somehow I'm also not so focused on the term gamification because of course, it depends on the intention and the context it's used. But I'm, because I know it from, commercial interests, for example, getting people to do stuff. And yes, I absolutely don't see our project in that regard or in this context. That's why I am quite wary and not really interested in gamification per se. I rather see it, I look at it from a different perspective of, okay, there are skills which you can learn in a game, which you can learn, which you can use then in reality, which I find much more interesting. And to have this loop of the different realities and have them converge. So I think also, what the activist said, hey, I learned these skills in games. Now I can use them in real life. I find this a lot more interesting.
Yeah, I would like to underline this gamification and design thinking and stuff like that is marking names that are not so that we don't like to use it here in the university, and for instance in the Master of Game Design and Playful Media. So I'm pretty sure that Rafael and John will receive an invitation really soon to participate in our master. So thank you very much. I'm gonna pass the word now, just a brief presentation to John. And after that, you combine together that presentation of the game, etc.
Yeah, I think I just present the game right after,
Okay.
now.
Great.
Then you introduce me.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, I think that's best now, otherwise the context is lost.
okay, perfect.
Yeah, before we jump in,
Yeah, perfect.
context. Oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I probably only need the microphone for the recording because I'm pretty loud. So we're going to do a little bit of live coding. This morning when I compiled the game to make an executable, of course, there was a bug, and it's something in the executable, not in the game itself. So here we are in Unity. That's what it's written in. And I have mute audio on, which is good because we don't have any audio at the moment. So again, this is one of the introduction videos. We play the video through and we get a chat message. And the chat message, have you seen this video? So we get another video. And so your cover novel, an attack, and you can already see the water tower in the background. So then we close that, and some more chat messages come in, and we get what's called a toolbot. And you can do a hashtag search on cover novel attack. Right now, of course, we're still in development. And I've got 5 days to finish this, Raphael, something like that. So right now you can just type in anything there, and then this is where we get the search results. Oh, wait. And so we can look at those, and we find the video, and we play the second video, and after it's done, or if I close it, boom, we zoom in onto the ground level. The first satellite map, and we got the toolbot coming up and saying that you can generate stills. And after that, we get a couple more email messages or SMSs, or whatever they're called now, instant messages, personal messages, and you can generate these stills, and we want to find out where this happened so we can enhance the images, which is basically this. Simple process. And again, this game is designed for, young people, not necessarily for an adult. So we're keeping it really, really simple as much as possible. And in this presentation, I'm also just really showing. I have lost my own cheats just to make it easy for me. So we get to this level, and now we can zoom in and scroll around on the map. We got this message. That there are 2 possible locations for the hospital. I'm already targeting those 2 potential locations. This is one of the interface issues that we're trying to solve, is like, even if I zoom all the way in, this is kind of the highest resolution map we have of this area. And can you really tell where to go? So it's basically, in this case, it's 50-50. You'll either get it right or wrong the first try. And right now, I'm just going to get it right. But this is one of these things that we're trying to figure out, which I always call the crisis of representation when building a game. Now, keep in mind also, I'm a programmer. I'm not a graphic artist. I'm an artist, but I program. So all the design and stuff here was done by Raphael. And so when we get a little bit further on, things get a little bit more ugly and a little more ugly. Because I'm happy just doing cardboard boxes. So here we are now on the surface, and again we can fly around here and look at stuff, and again making it easy for myself to debug because I have to just whip through things while I'm working. Here's my water tower, 3D model, and yeah, you see, oh hey, that's shadow, and we're working with the lighting and shadows right now, which is part of my bug issue. I can take these buildings that are not standing out quite yet enough. There should maybe be more like Monopoly pieces at this point, and drop them in their desired locations. Bonk. And once I do that, crossing fingers, yes, we're on the ground level now. So now we're in your kind of typical 3D view. Again, I'm working on lighting and outlining, stuff that I don't actually really know. I used to write shaders by hand. In the old days. And now, of course, there's all these groovy shader tools that I need to learn just to teach my students. And so what we do now is we have our media here, and we want to go find this position in the 3D map. And I'm making it easy for myself, where I just drop a guy here, and then it kind of snaps into place. So I've found the first confirmation. So I click on the next one. And I can fade this in and out, right? So I can get a sense. And okay, again, I'm cheating. We probably won't have these guys in here, but that's just for me to run around and find the sweet spot. And you see, you can really get, this one is actually, everything needs a little bit of adjustment. I got to shove this one over to the left a little bit, over to the right. But you can actually get, from this 3D model, a pretty good sense, a pretty close representation and matchup of the image to location, and that also relates to my history as well, where I've always tried to match the virtual to the real. And while I'm running around here to the last location, Raphael, what, 25, 30 years ago? Oh my God, was my first studio assistant. And so that's when I was doing most of my artistic work. So there's the radio tower. Okay, this needs a little bit more precision, but that's just me twisting things. So it's coincidental or not coincidental, or I'd like to see that I've had an influence on this man who was once a young man, and now I'm working for him. So I like that irony, actually. So we get the last one placed, and now we get a new message with the video, and still working on a transition there. So we can now play this last video, and this is the shadow area that Raphael was talking about. Once we finish that, we get, in this case, we automatically generate a still. So here's my new still, and this is also where I'm having a bug. So I'm hoping it will work. Live coding. So I know where this guy is. He's over here. And let me bump him. Yay, no bug. And again, I still need to match it up perfectly, but you can get pretty close. And now we can use, now the toolbot should say, use the shadow calculator, and then this pulls in. And we can sort of scrape this along here, and working on the lighting, and confirm what time of day that this actually occurred. And it occurred somewhere around there. My camera position isn't exactly right, nor is my sun position yet. But the point is, okay, that's the end of the prototype. This is a prototype development. So it's not, we don't have to complete the game. It's not really to be played. It's to be used to go forward with this idea. And so right now we're just really this is basically game over. We get a final message, a chat message saying, great, now we can find out, now that we know the time of attack, we can look at flight data and things like this to see who may have launched the bombs or dropped the bombs. So this is basically game over point for the prototype. So any last questions about this for me or Raphael? Before I go on to my dog and pony show.
Yeah, from my side, just thank you, John, for mentioning that it's actually a prototype. I guess I completely, yeah.
It's a prototype that has gone through many phases. This is actually, even though we're calling it version 2, it's actually version 3 of the prototype. We won't get into that.
I have one simple question or two. Anyone have questions? Just so first one, really simple. In your stage of development, which is going to be the goal, develop this and reach where? Some festivals, some what? And second question, what do you think players will take from this game? Besides the engaging stuff, the funny work of developing puzzles and find the stuff, but as a meaningful message from what you think that after the game?
I can answer that question. I think Raphael already sort of touched on this, is that get young people trained and interested to do the real job. That's what is the ultimate goal. Where we want to go with the prototype is, get more funding to keep going. Right now, Raphael did the graphic design, and I've done all the coding. He originally hired me just to do the audio, and then I ended up writing the whole damn thing from scratch because there was a first version of a prototype that we just didn't like, and so. Nobody was happy with it, so that's when I said, I think I can do this. I think I can do it quick. I said that a year ago. I said, I think I can do this in 3 months, and I said that a year ago, and I'm still not done. But I mean,
I was asking that because I imagine when I will play this game, I will feel some nostalgia of the past, of the things being destroyed, blah 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 blah, that kind of stuff.
Well, for us, it was more about, getting young people engaged so they get the feeling that they actually can influence the world. And it's not just consumption of news, but that you can actually, be part of something and work on something, right? and by that changing stuff that is around and happening. Of course, there is then a lot of other questions with regards to like who is going to take these people to court? Will it really change? Will it really matter? But you know, that's questions that of course cannot be answered that easily, of course.
Okay, great.
But in the end, you know, the idea is to make it more difficult or more uncomfortable to to inflict human rights or to do human rights abuses or war crimes, right? I mean, the current crisis or like the current war in Ukraine just brought it up more. Sorry, I'm stealing your time, John. I'm repeating myself.
No, it's uncomfortable is definitely a key word. So we are on time, so we can move past, and at the end, there's no question. So I'm gonna pass the word. Oh, one question. So just one more, please.
Sorry. I just came in mid-presentation, so I don't know if you talked about this. But you're getting these images from the internet from amateur reporters, citizen reporters. And my question is, have you contacted these people because of the use of those images?
Yes, we have, and it's been very difficult. You know, you can imagine, you know, like especially in a war zone or in a war area, people may not respond to email from a foreigner, and so on and so on. So we tried our best, but not everything is solved in the end. But it's stuff that is publicly available, and and then goes under fair use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, I'm gonna move forward.